Early on Sunday morning, Beijing time, it was announced that the IOC, the International Olympic Council, had awarded Tokyo the right to host the 2020 Olympic Games. The Japanese capital beat Istanbul 60-36 in the runoff after Madrid was eliminated in the first round. Tokyo now becomes the first Asian city to host the Olympics twice. The last time was back in 1964. However, for a while, many in China were under the impression that Istanbul and not Tokyo had been awarded the Games. China's official government-run news agency Xinhua sent a flash at 3:10 a.m. saying that Istanbul had been victorious. This was later corrected, but not before at least one Chinese newspaper and Chinese state television, accustomed to accepting Xinhua statements without question, announced erroneously that the 2020 Games were going to Turkey. One newspaper in Changsha had to recall hundreds of thousands of copies after it printed headlines with the wrong information. Many net users were quick to gleefully seize on the mistake with a strong sense of schadenfreude. The government recently launched a crackdown on what it calls online rumour mongering here, and this has seen many ordinary citizens detained or even jailed for such indiscretions as tweeting incorrect or inaccurate information about fatalities in a car accident. So how has China's online community reacted to the news of Tokyo's successful bid? Well, to find out, let's join our researcher Julia Liu in the newsroom. Right, Julia, so what are you seeing in terms of the main news here, the awarding of the 2020 Olympic Games to Tokyo?
Well, while there are some mixed feelings, I'd say that most Chinese net users acknowledge that Tokyo deserved to win the bid. Well, Lao Fu is one of them. Tokyo's opponents were relatively weak this time, so Tokyo already had an extra advantage going into the voting. And Wang Jinsi has this brief analysis on Tokyo's pros and cons. Well, Japan has had a press over the leaking Fukushima nuclear power station, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's behavior towards some countries Japan once invaded, and the rampant whaling it carried out. But on the plus side, Tokyo has an efficient transportation infrastructure and sound stadiums and other facilities. The city also has experience in hosting Olympic Games, and the Japanese government is determined to invest a huge amount of money in the preparations. And a poster has this to add. Tokyo's bid committee appointed the globally popular Doraemon Japanese anime character as a special ambassador, which was a clever propaganda and a powerful reminder of Japan's ability to inspire young people. At the same time, of course, there are still some net users whose anti-Japanese feelings come first. Well, this poster from Jiangsu has this to say. It's a blasphemy to the Olympic spirit to let the Games be hosted by a country which is so reluctant to reflect on its wrongdoing in World War II. While another poster says, if the Japanese government keeps moving to the right, the Chinese should boycott the Games in 2020. But there are also those who see the news in a more positive light. This poster, Cheng Wanjun, says, Tokyo is probably the nearest thing to a perfect Asian city, and its win can serve an inspiration for us to catch up with it. And Jingling Tianshi points out a key element of the Olympic spirit, saying, sports are simply sports. We don't have to bind them to politics.
Okay then, Julia. Now, I'm sure there must be plenty of comment on this blunder by state media in misreporting the winner of the vote initially. Give us an idea of what's being said about that.
Well, sure, there is a lot of commentary on that. Some posters have come up with the reasons for how it might have happened. A net user named Feng Pan Xiaoran has this speculation. The reporters from Xinhua may have psychologically been expecting Tokyo would lose and then heard the information wrongly out of carelessness. Well, this poster, Xiaoyang He on ScienceNet.cn, says, well, they may simply have been too impatient to read the result even before the IOC president announced it at 4:20. But most net users have no excuse for or sympathy with the state media. Bring under heaven, it's they who should be the targets of the crackdown. And the 记者 Liu Xiaonan is a little more forgiving, but also has a warning of misinformation with that crackdown on rumors you mentioned, and the treatment meted out to some ordinary citizens who make far smaller mistakes. Well, one case net users mention is the woman who was detained for a so-called rumor mongering after she posted a simple question online asking, well, I heard of a murder case in such and such a place. Does anyone knows about the truth? Well, Liu Xuesong has this on Weibo.com. Now we know the state mouthpieces are actually the biggest rumor mongering under heaven. It's they who should be the targets of the crackdown. And the 记者 Liu Xiaonan is a little more forgiving, but also has a warning. Well, there's no need to harp on too much about the error. But I hope the authorities can be a bit more tolerant of net users if they can also tolerate this state media mistake. It just shows that they can make mistakes too, never mind ordinary net users. They'll look so bad if they overreact the next time someone posts false information unintentionally online. And more net users expressed their anger with the fact that not only has the state media not apologized yet to the public, well, they seem to be simply hushing the incident up. Meng Chunqiu says, to apologize for one's mistake is a basic moral principle for everyone. While Man Bu Lu 2008 has this question for the media that blindly printed Xinhua's mistake. Well, on what journalistic basis is it that Xinhua makes a mistake and other news organizations just copy it? They lack professionalism themselves, but are still happy to lay the blame on others.
Well, in the end, we know that Tokyo did end up the winner in all this, but have net users any comments on what this could mean for China?
Well, there is some discussion of that. A remark in Global Times says it will be beneficial for the rest of the Northeast Asia if the successful bid can reinvigorate Japan. Well, Japan's economic slowdown has gone on for more than 20 years, and China's rise has made Japan feel even more lost. This growing lack of confidence causes and has reinforced Japan's move to the right. While being tough and provocative towards China is just an extreme embodiment of frustration and confusion. The Olympics will put some pressure on Japan to realize the importance of self-restraint. Jiang Feng on Sina.com has this. With an increase in Sino-Japanese trade and the geographic advantages, Chinese companies will have more business opportunities during the preparatory phase for the Games. And the same poster views the bid is good news for Chinese athletes too. Chinese sportsmen have enjoyed much success in Japan in recent years. The lack of jet lag, similar culture, and familiar competitive arenas should help Chinese athletes perform well in the 2020 Games. Well, finally, a net user on QQ.com views Tokyo's success brings both benefits and drawbacks to China, saying, Chinese sports fans will no longer have to stay up late to watch the contest on TV. Well, it's also handier for them to travel there and watch the games in person. But it may bring difficulties to other Asian countries who want to bid for later Olympic Games. Chinese cities will have to wait until at least 2036 to bid again.
Okay, thanks for that, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu with online reaction to the news that Tokyo has been awarded the 2020 Olympic Games. Next up on China Take, some of the top trending phrases on China's most popular search engines.